Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to yet another beautiful and well-constructed draft expert YouTube video. I am, of course, the self-proclaimed draft quote-unquote expert, Logan Blackman, and I hope you all have had a fantastic week, and I hope you all are ready to get learned up today. But before we get into any of that, let's go over the housekeeping items first. Make sure to follow Logan Blackman Show on every single form of social media down in the description below. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that great stuff. Make sure to check out the podcast on the LoganBlackmanShow.com, or a blog post at the LoganBlackmanShow.com, the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Make sure to subscribe, like, follow, whatever you can on those. But once again, make sure to check out the blog post down in the description below. You'll get way more in-depth analysis over each quarterback within this top 10 rankings down there. And yeah, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video if you're enjoying it already. If you're not trusting, like at the end of the video. I'll make sure to remind you of that. And make sure as well to leave a comment down below on how you feel, whether it be good, bad, indifferent, what your rankings are, what you hate or love about my rankings, whatever you want to say, let me know down in the comment section below. And man, oh man, it's week 13 of the college football season. I guess we're entering week 14 of the college football season, which is sad, but that's the reality of it. I'm not going to dwell on it like we have in previous weeks. I'm just going to dive right into this. I'm just going to go right into this thing. And starting off in the honorable mention section is Jaden Craig from Harvard, 23-43, 266, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Had a rushing touchdown in a disheartening 45-28 loss to Yale at the Yale Bowl with a chance to go to the FCS playoffs. It's one of the biggest rivalries in all of college football, regardless of level. Yale versus Harvard is massive. I mean, the Yale Bowl is way bigger than what you would expect an FCS stadium to be, but it's so historic that you kind of look at it and go, wow, that's just awesome. It's one of my bucket list stadiums to go to, if I'm being 100% honest with you. And going to a Harvard versus Yale game, I would be in the lowest common denominator in regards to intelligence in that stadium. But hey, it'd be a fun game to go to. But again, this was a game to secure a place in the FCS playoffs. Yale took advantage of it, come away with the win. Jaden Craig missed on 20 passes in this game, but again, no turnovers, which is something he's been pretty good at doing this year, at avoiding those. Only 5 interceptions on the season with 27 total touchdowns to his name. Unfortunate that we're not going to be able to see him in the playoffs, but I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I don't really think we are going to see a Yale or Harvard deep run in the FCS playoffs. I could be completely wrong. I could be overlooking them completely, but for whatever reason, I just have a hard time believing that, especially since Yale will be going up against Youngstown State, I believe, in the first round of the playoffs, with Youngstown State, the 15th ranked team in the playoffs, and the winner of that game will have the misfortune of going on to take on Montana State in the next round. So, yeah, I don't really think we were going to be seeing a long, extended run from either Yale or Harvard, but Jaden Craig comes in here. I was going to put Cole Payton here as well, as we have put him in the past couple weeks, the FCS quarterback from North Dakota State, who is the number 1 seed in the FCS playoffs, but him and North Dakota State played St. Thomas this past weekend. They won 62-7. He didn't really need to do a whole lot in that game, so I didn't put him in the honorable mention section, but I did want to give him a little shout out in this and explain why he's not in this one. But we have Josh Hoover, another loss in year 17, or a win, a 17-14 road win against then 23rd ranked Houston, 24-33, 293, 2 touchdowns, but 3 interceptions to his name on this game. 13 picks on the season is not necessarily the most ideal spot to find yourself, even if I'm being 100% honest with you. You don't really want to be throwing that many interceptions. It's not really something to look at in a very positive light, especially when you look at the past few games for him, where it's kind of been a kind of a snowball effect in regards to these turnovers. I mean, in the past 3 games, he's registered 7 picks and 3 touchdowns. That's not necessarily a winning formula. Now, they have been against Iowa State, BYU, and Houston, 2 of those games being on the road, and we have talked about this before, how Josh Hoover's seemingly a much better quarterback at home than he is on the road, but that's where he comes in right now, but still completed a high percentage of passes, almost threw for 300 yards in the win as well. So, hey, nothing crazy bad, but 3 picks is definitely not ideal. Diego Pavia comes in as the next honorable mention section, 33 of 39, 484, 5 touchdowns and a pick, with 48 yards on the ground and a rushing touchdown. Remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about how Diego Pavia, if you go back a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or so, when he was getting really big Heisman hype, his numbers weren't really that great. And they were talking about like games against Missouri, where he did not put forth the greatest performance of all time from a Heisman caliber quarterback at that point. But that was a game where everybody kind of learned, not everybody, but people on social media kind of like, oh, this is a Heisman moment for him, and it wasn't. And then the games after that, he was putting up some fantastic numbers. And this is a prime example of that, like the fantastic numbers he's been putting up recently. But during those stretches where he was putting up those numbers, he wasn't really getting talked about in the same vein as he was, let's say, after they beat LSU. Like he wasn't really getting talked about in that same vein, but now we're back into that conversation. These past few weeks for Diego Pavia have been fantastic. There's no other way to put it. They're just absolutely ridiculous numbers that he's been putting up. I believe he leads the nation in total yards this season. And you look at these games against Texas, Auburn, and Kentucky. 365 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Against Auburn, 377 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And against Kentucky, 484 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick. So in these last 3 games, he has registered 11 touchdowns and 1 pick, and that's not including rushing touchdowns. We had in the rushing touchdowns, that's 14 touchdowns and 1 interception across these past 3 games. But when you looked at game against LSU and Missouri, those were 2 games where people were really looking at it like, oh, these are Heisman moments. But in those games, he went 1 touchdown, 1 pick, did have 3 rushing touchdowns in those 2 games. But in these past 3 weeks, again, against Texas, Auburn, and Kentucky, I know Kentucky and Auburn aren't like world beaters or anything, but still, putting up those types of numbers with that much efficiency, completing over 70% of his passes in each one of those games, completing 84% of his passes this past weekend, now I think we're in a realistic spot where we can have an actual conversation about Diego Pavia possibly winning the Heisman Trophy. Would I give it to him? I'm more convinced of it now than I was, again, a few weeks ago. But I think right now, the Fernando Mendoza has that quote-unquote Heisman moment against Penn State. I know it's against Penn State, we're not the greatest, but I think he's probably the favorite. I think Jeremiah Love deserves a lot of consideration in that award as well. Julian Sain for the numbers. Like, he completes 80% of his passes throwing the ball down the field. But the problem with Julian Sain for his Heisman candidacy at this point is that Ohio State is boat racing everybody they play. There is no game where they're even close to losing. Like, they are just beating the crap. I mean, Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate were rested this past weekend essentially against Rutgers, going into the game against Michigan this weekend. Like, there has not been a real moment where you could look to and go, like, that's a Heisman moment for Julian Sain. Numbers-wise, is there. Julian Sain's put up really good numbers this year. But there's no moment where you can point to and go, like, that's the Heisman winner right there, because Ohio State's just so loaded and has been so dominant and has really faced no threat throughout the course of the season. So it's kind of hard to look at and go, like, yeah, I can give him the Heisman, but I think there's a chance because Ohio State is the best team in college football. They're the number 1 ranked team in the nation. We're going to have to see how he does against Michigan this weekend, but time will tell. But Diego Pavia, these past 3 weeks, I think has built a very, very, very compelling case to getting his hands on the Heisman Trophy. And it's just crazy to think about how arguably the top 2 guys for the Heisman Trophy right now are quarterbacks of Indiana and Vanderbilt, 2 teams that had never had a 10-win season in program history. Indiana prior to last year, and Vanderbilt has a chance to do it this weekend against Tennessee. They're 9-2 at this point in time. And I'm assuming they're going to go, well, we'll have to wait and see. I can't get ahead of myself here, but they play Tennessee this week. They could definitely win that game. But Vanderbilt and Indiana going from 0 10-win seasons and really no Heisman caliber players in college. I know they had, like, Antoine Randall for Indiana. Trent Green was really good. You had Jay Cutler for Vanderbilt. Like, they've had good players. I'm not taking that away from them. But from a Heisman standpoint, this is a weird reality in which we live in right now, and it's kind of fun. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But Sawyer Robertson's next. 22 of 33, 162, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. Had a rushing touchdown as well, and a 41-17 loss to Arizona. Arizona's a good defensive team, so it didn't really surprise me they came away with 2 interceptions. He has 11 picks on the season. And like we talked about before with Sawyer Robertson, he likes to push the ball down the field. He likes to take those types of risks. He thinks that he can make every single throw on the football field, and, that's a good quality to have in certain aspects. Not all the time, because sometimes you wind up throwing some bad interceptions. But this week, 162 yards on 33 attempts. That's not necessarily enough to get you back into the top 10. And the final one on here is Lenore Sellers. I'm going to keep mentioning him throughout the rest of the season because he still is a very, very talented quarterback. And had he been playing more consistently, then I think he would be a first-round draft pick with no bones about it. But I think, again, at this point, I'm leaning way towards the fact that he's going to go back to school based off everything I've seen on social media and stuff like that, and based on what my eyes have told me in regards to him as a player. But he put up good numbers this past week, 16 to 20, 274, 2 touchdowns, no picks, also 82 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns there against Coastal Carolina. So, I mean, it's against a lesser opponent, but it is nice to see him put up numbers like that in a win, and a convincing win at that. So, get them back in the winning ways. They should have had a win against Texas A&M the previous week, obviously choked that one away. So, yeah, it's nice to get back to winning ways, but they have a tough one coming up this next weekend against Clemson, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit, as number 10 is Cade Klubnik, dropping down one spot from number 9 to number 10. They played Furman this past week. He had a little send-off at the end. He played one down in the second drive of the second quarter, and they took him out, gave him a whole standing ovation, all that stuff. Cool moment. He's been a lifer at Clemson. He's put up really good numbers there, helped him get back to relevancy after they were kind of struggling a few years with DJ at quarterback after Trevor Lawrence. So helping them get back to that point. Obviously, the season has not gone how anybody expected it to go for Clemson, but Cade Klubnik is still a very good quarterback, but there's just not a lot to go off of in this game because, again, he played a drive and a play in the second quarter, and he had 2 passing touchdowns in this game, nice and easy passing touchdowns, 9 of 15, 159, no picks, did have a really rough throwaway in the game where he was trying to scramble around too much in the backfield, and I can't remember if he got called for intentional grounding or not, but he comes in at 10. I could have put him higher, but we didn't really see him play comparatively to the other quarterbacks that are above him, so I dropped him down a spot. That's whatever. Number 9, Trinidad Chambliss, didn't play this past week, and I just think the 2 quarterbacks that are above him right now that we've had conversations about played good enough to warrant one of them staying in the same spot and one of them jumping up. So I always feel bad for dropping quarterbacks who are on a bye and didn't play, but, I feel like, again, that the 2 guys above him, Brennan Sorsby and Carson Beck, had good enough performances this past weekend to warrant jumping up 3 spots for Beck and staying in the same spot for Sorsby. And speaking of Sorsby, he comes in at number 8 again. It's like the 4th consecutive week he comes in at number 8. Numbers-wise, I like this game better than what we had seen against Utah and Arizona. I mean, 23 of 38, 300 yards. The first 300-yard passing game he's had since they played Kansas all the way back in September. Also had 2 passing touchdowns this game. Did have a really bad interception in there. 30 yards on the ground as well, which led Cincinnati in rushing, which is really weird for them. Tyway Walker, one of the better running backs in the Big 12, but Sorsby led the team with only 38 yards rushing in the game. And when I say things just did not go Cincinnati's way, that could not be downplaying it enough. Like, anything that could have gone wrong for Cincinnati went wrong. Whether it was 3 missed field goals, whether it was failing to get across the goal line after having the ball on the BYU 3-yard line, whether it be a fumble while you're driving down the field, whether it be an interception from Sorsby, all these different things that could have gone wrong for Cincinnati did go wrong, because I think in the end, their defense, played well enough to help them get across the line. It's just the offense could not get anything going at all. And they got some things going towards the end of the game. Sorsby made some really good passes to Goody and to Covey out of the back or on the sideline for a 37-yard pass. He made some really good throws. He had his touchdown to Caldwell on the last drive of the game as well. But apart from that, they just couldn't get anything consistently going. But I do think Sorsby made some good throws. He was battling an injury. They've talked about that for the past couple of weeks with an ankle injury. He got hit quite a bit in this game. And I think what I like about Sorsby is that he is not afraid to take those hits. He's a stockier quarterback. He's about 6'3", 235 pounds or thereabout. So he's not afraid to take those types of hits. Obviously, you don't want him to take those types of hits in the open field, but in the pocket, you want him to be fearless, tall, strong in the pocket, deliver strong throws down the field, which I think he did for the better part of most of this game. Like, first drive of the game, 23-yard pass to Johnson, or second drive of the game, where they got stopped at the 3-yard line. 23-yard pass to Johnson. He does a very good job. One thing Sorsby does better than a lot of quarterbacks in college football, or not a lot, but better than some or most quarterbacks in college football, I guess I could say, is utilizing his eyes to manipulate the defense. There are a lot of times in this game where he starts his attention to one side, flips back to the other side, and he hits the open receiver because his eyes told the defense that he's going to this side. And they fell for it every single time. You look at this 23-yard pass to Johnson. Johnson fakes like he's running the seam, cuts back inside. And I have it from the back angle in the blog post. If you want to go check that out again on the LoganBlackmanShow.com, it'll be linked down in the description. The whole defense shifts to the left. To the defense's right, Cincinnati's left. and he just makes for a very easy throw. You look at his touchdown pass that he has, 27-yard touchdown pass to Allen. Starts to the right. Now, Allen does a very good stop-and-go route, fakes the hitch, reverses out, completely cooks the defender, holds the single-high safety off just enough to make it a very easy throw to Cyrus Allen down the near sideline for a 27-yard touchdown. Like, those are the types of plays we love seeing from Sorsby. Those are very nice plays here. And then you look at the ball placement on his 19-yard pass to Goody. This play was the very first play following the interception, which the interception, I guess I didn't really talk about. He's trying to make something happen on third down. It's 3rd and 10. He's scrambling around the pocket. He's looking downfield, scanning the entire field, kind of just messes around in the pocket, throws it down the field, and he underthrows the crap out of the ball. Absolutely underthrows it. Easy interception, uncontested interception by the BYU defender. Tries to hit, I believe, Cyrus Allen down the sideline, but it's just a very easy interception for the defender. Unfortunate throw, and we talk about arm arrogance. Brennan Sorsby has that in abundance. He thinks, again, like we talked about Robertson, that he can make every single throw on the football field, and more often than not, he can't. He can put a lot of velocity on the ball from a very unbalanced base, but here, he just didn't get anywhere near enough on it, and it would have been a hard throw anyways had he got enough on it, but here, it was just a bad throw, and the first play following that is a little hitch route to Goody on the outside, and you can see him in the clip. He thinks initially that it's getting intercepted and returned the other way because the defender makes a nice jump on the ball, but it's just a very well-placed pass from Sorsby to eventually to allow Goody to turn outside, place it on an outside shoulder. Defender from BYU is fully extended, and he gets it through his hands into Goody, who again reverses out and is able to pick up 19 yards on the ground after making the catch. He had a 25-yard pass to Pryor out of the backfield as well, I believe it was out of the backfield, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, out of the backfield, where he hits Pryor. It's just a few yards past the line of scrimmage, but the defender is screaming around the edge from the left side. He gets it out right before the defender can make a play on it. So that pocket awareness, I think, is also very impressive from Sorsby. And again, I will keep reiterating the interception was not good, but I think he did enough overall in this game to keep his spot at number 8. And as for Beck at 7, the thing with Carson Beck that I struggle with to a certain extent is that sometimes he puts a little bit too much loft on the ball. And we've talked about that before. And you look at some of the throws that he had in this game where he throws it very high. Now, he played a perfect game, damn near perfect game in this one. 27-32, 320 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns, no picks in this game. But you look at some of these throws that he had to Marion across the middle of the field. Strike. Right across the middle of the field. You could just throw the loft, and again, we talk about manipulating the defense to one side, freeing the safety from Virginia Tech, who's playing to the near sideline, follows Beck's eyes and carries his coverage to the far side, or to the near sideline, which allows a big opening in the middle of the defense for Beck to hit Lofton in the end zone for the easy 20-yard touchdown. It is so important to have those types of plays where you're manipulating defense with your eyes. He had a 56-yard pass to Tony. Defender's coming in over top, or the defender in coverage, falls over while trying to track Tony, and he takes a little bit off the ball for Tony to come back to it because there is a defender coming in over top as well. Not that he was necessarily close to making a play on the ball, but just taking enough off of it to get it into Tony, who can get his head up and make a defender miss before picking up 56 yards after making the catch. Not after making the catch, but 56 yards on the catch, if that makes sense. He had a 17-yard pass to Tony as well, where the defender from Virginia Tech stalls just a little bit, which frees up that opening in the secondary for him to hit Tony, who skies up to go get the ball because the defender drops back in coverage, but you still got to get it high enough to get it over him. And Tony, though he's a freshman, is one of the better receivers in the ACC, and he goes up and absolutely just rips it down from the sky. And a really solid throw there from Beck. He had a 19-yard pass to Upshaw in here as well. Really good back shoulder ball, and you know me, you know how much I love back shoulder throws. Perfectly placed back shoulder. Great job by Upshaw at working back to the ball through the defender as well before hitting Pringle in the end zone for 22 yards out. It makes a very good diving catch with a nice little mesh combination on the outside to free him up for the 22-yard score. Almost overthrew him, but hey, sometimes you got to let your playmakers make plays. Exactly what happened there. And then finally gets a 20-yard touchdown pass to Malachi Tony with 20 seconds left in the fourth quarter on 4th down to ultimately help seal away the win. And this was a game, I'm not going to lie, that I kind of looked at and was I could see Miami losing this. I could see it. And is Virginia Tech a good team? No, they had 3 wins going into this game. I'm not saying you're going this was a very good Virginia team. It was just one of those things where you look at and go, it felt like a Mario Cristobal type of loss. Like, they shouldn't have lost to Georgia Tech last year. They shouldn't have lost to Syracuse last year. They shouldn't have lost to Georgia Tech 2 years ago when they had the fumble and then Georgia Tech had the game-winning touchdown when they should have just knelt it down. Like, it felt like one of those. Maybe I was crazy, but I know they shouldn't have lost to Louisville earlier in the year. They shouldn't have lost to SMU because I think on paper they have way more talented teams. They are a way more talented team than either one of those two, but they still lost them. But it just felt like a type of game where they're going to overlook them slightly later in the season, and then they get caught. And they didn't get caught. They just didn't. And Beck, again, played a near-perfect game, and he comes in at number 7. John Mateer comes in at number 6. Oklahoma's offense is not very good. Flat out. And I'm really close to taking Mateer out of this top 10, and the only thing that's keeping him in here is his athleticism and the fact that he can deliver a lot of velocity on the ball. Like, you look at it, he had an 87-yard touchdown pass to Satanga, and he just absolutely rips it to him. And when you're a defense, it's so hard to track receivers like Satanga when they're running a crossing route. It's so hard to track them. Satanga is one of the, if not the fastest receiver in all of college football, and you're asking a defender to track him across the field. Good luck with that. And Mateer throws it right over the inside shoulder of the linebacker, hits Satanga in stride, easy 87-yard touchdown. Just sprints past everybody for an 87-yard score. He had an incomplete pass to Gibson that I highlighted, and he had another one in there where it was a tight window throw that fell incomplete because the receiver dropped it. I didn't want to make a habit of highlighting incomplete passes, but like there are throws that are like almost there. Almost there. I didn't highlight the one that was in the tight window, but the one to Gibson on the sideline I did. But Mateer, good athlete. Everybody knows that. A 15-yard run on 3rd and 10. Then he had an 8-yard passing touchdown to Gibson. Linebacker stayed flat, opened up the window in the secondary, made it easy 8-yard touchdown pass. He had a 14-yard run later on 3rd down. And Mateer, and I saw this in an article today, actually, where it kind of stated that Mateer is relying more on his athleticism rather than that being in addition to him on the opposite side of the ball. And I think a lot of that has to go down with the hand injury. He hasn't played anywhere close, really, to what we saw earlier in the season. Like, there was a reason that John Mateer was a Heisman frontrunner early on in the season, when they were beating Michigan. Like, he put up some very impressive performances there and then had the injury, rushed back from it, sucked ass against Texas, and then has slowly been trying to build his way back. But since that injury, Oklahoma's offense has been pretty much dead in the water. They stink offensively. And I'm waiting for Mateer to, like, fully come back. And I think there were plays in this game where you could look at and go, okay, he made some good throws throughout the course of this game. He made some effective runs in this game on 3rd downs. Like, those are the types of plays we love seeing from Mateer. And he didn't throw an interception, which is nice. He had 2 passing touchdowns in this game as well, which is nice. Get his total up to 10. But I'm like inches away from taking him out of the top 10 and having him come back this year. And I'm going to tell him to go back next year. But he comes in at number 6. Darian Mensah comes in at 5 against North Carolina. This game is so funny. I kind of talked about with the UConn game how North Carolina football is just viewed completely differently than North Carolina basketball. Like, this game, Duke versus North Carolina, is the premier rivalry in all of college basketball. When it comes to football, no one gives 2 shits. How many people out there actually knew this game was going on? Like, how many people knew that? No, nobody did. Like, it was one of those games where you're like, it came and went. Yada, yada, yada. Oh, North Carolina, Duke. Oh, my God, here we go. It was just in the middle of the day on Saturday, and there was no hype for it. Like, when they were playing basketball, there's hype for days, if not weeks, prior to the game. There's kids waiting outside in tents outside Cameron Indoor to get into that game. It is the rivalry. Like, you know that they call Michigan, Ohio State the game? That's the game in college basketball. But in college football, no one cares. And it kind of just came and went. Though North Carolina won 32-25, they found themselves down 25-24 late in the game, but clawed their way back. Darian Mensah, 175 yards, a touchdown in this game. I believe it was a season low in passing yards in this game, which is fine. Against, he didn't turn the ball over, which I think is positive, and I think his stat line is way better, and his performance was better this week than it was last week against Virginia. He made some really good passes on 3rd and 4th downs. I think that's the main thing we can point to in this game, is that when Duke needed a play on 3rd or 4th down, like you look at it, a 24-yard pass to Barcate on 3rd and 9, early in the game, 13 seconds left in the first quarter, 24-yard pass to him, 27-yard pass to Hazley at 4th and 3, early in the game. That was with 6:42 left in the first quarter. You look at his 22-yard pass to Hagens, 3rd and 6, with 6:35 left in the second quarter. Like, when they needed him to make a play on critical downs, he did. And then the touchdown came with a 14-yard pass touchdown to Hazley. I like the play design because they had the big guy out, split out in the slot. I love seeing those things. I love seeing those types of things where they tried a little decoy out there. I don't know when he bought it, but it's just funny to see like the big guy split up in a 2-point stance, ready to run a route down the field. He's just jumping with his hands in the air the entire time. Easy patching touchdown to Hazley, but there's not really much to talk about with Mensa in this game. Just, again, made some plays when Duke needed him to, and they helped get them over the top of the 32-25 win. Number 4, Jaden Maava from USC. 25, 43, 306, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 16 yards on the ground, 42-27 loss to Oregon. Unfortunate that they lost this game because I do think Jaden Maava put forth a very, very solid performance in this game. The interception came later in the game. If I remember correctly, it came in... I'm trying to remember what quarter it was. Second quarter? Yeah, second quarter. 3rd and 5, he hits Hines. So he gets a nice little pickup on 3rd and 5. And the final positive play of the drive, first interception of the game, play later. And you could sit there and go like, oh, well, it was as good as a punt, but then you get Jacoby Lane getting called for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, which pushed the ball damn near to the 50-yard line. And those are the types of things that suck, but it would have been a really hard play to make. That's what I'll say right there. It was 3rd and 13, and yeah, again, you could go like it's an arm punt if you really wanted to. If you want to play devil's advocate, you could say it was arm punt, but it was just a poor overall decision. Like it looked like he was locked in on the throw prior to the snap, prior to him snapping the ball. The pressure didn't help anything at all, but the ball really had very little chance to be completed as there were 3 Oregon defenders in the area. But again, Jacoby Lane's unsportsmanlike penalty definitely didn't help the situation. But yeah, it sucks to have interceptions like that. And then you get the second interception of the game coming on 4th and 10. It's a throw that's it's kind of hard to make. It's an out route. He was throwing an out route to Mekhi Lemon. Defender jumped the route. It had to be more outside. Defender just read it perfectly, picked off the ball. And that one was annoying because the Oregon defense came up with a 4th down stop on the previous drive, and then they turned it over with an interception on 4th down. But in the end, I guess you get, again, kind of with the arm punt, if you want to play devil's advocate, if the ball wasn't going to get completed regardless of an interception or not, it was just a hard throw to make. Defender, again, played it really well. So they weren't going to have the ball in that next play anyways. It just sucks that it ended up being an interception. But overall in the game, like Maava made some really, really, really impressive throws. He had a 27-yard pass down the near sideline to Jacoby Lane. You look at a 16-yard pass to Lane as well. Through a few Oregon defenders. 40-yard pass to Nook Hines down the field as well later in the game, or later in the first half. First quarter. Jeez. Later in the first quarter. And you get a 40-yard pass on what down was this? I'm trying to remember what down it was. Yeah, and what's impressive about that, so I can't find the down, sorry. What's impressive about that is that he threw this thing flat-footed and just launched it down the field. Maava has one of the better arms in all of college football, and he's got the size to go along with it as well, which makes him a very, very fun quarterback to watch. He had a 17-yard pass, Jacoby Lane on 3rd down later in the game as well. Again, he trusts his receivers. We've talked about this before. We talked about it with Mekhi Lemon last week against Iowa. He trusts his receiver. Whether it's Lemon, Jacoby Lane, to Nook Hines in this game, he made some plays and took Nook Hines to go up and get the ball. He's like, I'm going to put it in a spot for you to go get it. You better just come down and get it. And sometimes that's a very good trait to have to show you have that much faith in your receivers to go, hey, I need you to make a play. I'm going to put it in a spot where only you can get it. Your job is to come down with it. And he had a 51-yard pass to Hines with that in the mindset. And he just throws it down the near sideline for a 51-yard gain. Hines goes up and gets it, gathers himself, able to stay in bounds, and picks up more yards after the catch. Like, those are the types of plays we love to see, and I highlighted one of his touchdowns here. It's a 4-yard touchdown pass to Lemon. The only reason I highlighted it is because it's the same play that got him on his second interception of the game. It was an out route, and the defender, he put it more to the outside. Defender didn't get as good of a jump on it. Throws it outside, easy catch for Lemon, comes down the end zone for the score. Comes down the end zone, he hits the front pylon for the score. But I liked it because it was, again, the play that got him intercepted on. But he had a 32-yard pass to Lane in there as well. Like, Maava is a very, very physically gifted quarterback. 6'4", 230 pounds, cannon for an arm, decent athlete as well, can pick up gains with his legs if he needs to. And it just sucks that he had a couple interceptions in this game, which again, you could play devil's advocate on both of them if you really wanted to. I'm not saying I am, but you could, if you really wanted to, you could. You could. One of them, you could have said it was a punt. The second one, you could say, well, they weren't getting the ball back in the next play anyways. So, you know what? We take it. We take it. But I thought overall he made some very fantastic throws throughout the course of the game. It's just unfortunate they came on the losing side of it. Number 3 is Dante Moore, 22 of 30. Second consecutive game with 30 pass attempts, if I'm not mistaken. 257 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. His interception came right after Jade Mayava's interception, so the defenses were kind of trading blows back and forth. USC stops Oregon on 4th down. USC turns the ball over. Oregon turns the ball over 3 plays later. And that one, Dante Moore's interception, was kind of one of those things where you look at where both receivers are kind of in the same area. So you have no idea where he's really throwing the ball, and he just gets picked off. And then they return it back close to the 50-yard line as well, make it even worse. But it's just one of those things where the receivers basically ran in routes together. And those are kind of unfortunate. I don't know if that was the play design or something got mixed around there, but unfortunate play. But you look at some of the throws he was making to Kenny and Sadiq in this game. He had one of his touchdown passes only from 8 yards out. But what I like about it, he just kept backpedaling and threw it to a spot and let Sadiq go and get it. Like Sadiq caught up to the ball eventually, so it looked like it was more on his body, but he just threw it to a spot where he knew Sadiq would be because he had separation on his defender and made for a very nice play. He had a 24-yard pass to Ben, had a couple 20-yard passes on their first drive of the game, on their first touchdown drive of the game, and he gets into the Benson, 24-yard. We're talking about freezing defenders with the eyes, freezes them, goes to the left, flips back to his right, and he hits them right before the inside defender can make a play on the ball on a little slant seam route, whatever you want to call it. It was a slant. I don't know why I'm going whatever you want to call it. Just a slant route. But he gets a 24-yard gain out of that. 23-yard pass to McClellan as well. Insanely tight window down the far sideline. Very tight window. Linebacker dropped back into coverage. Ball could have very easily been picked off because if you throw that ball short, that ball can get easily intercepted. But again, fits in a really tight window, comes up with a big play. 30-yard pass to Benson down the near sideline as well. The camera kind of cut out during the pass, it's like Benson comes back to the ball a little bit. But again, we talk about letting your receivers go up and get the ball. Playmakers play, your playmakers make plays. That's what happened right there. And then you get the 28-yard touchdown pass to Sadiq right down the seam. Beautiful throw from Dante Moore. Gets him his second touchdown of the game, and they get the 42-27 win. He comes at number 3. Number 2, I still have Mendoza. Number 1, I have Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson's Heisman chances are done. They are gone and dusted. I mean, you cannot have a 2-interception, no-touchdown game against Eastern Illinois and win a Heisman Trophy. Alabama's defense was fantastic. In the game, Eastern Illinois totaled 34 yards of offense. Total, 34 yards of offense. And Ty Simpson, 11, 16, 147, no touchdowns, 2 picks. I will say this, though, about the no touchdowns thing. That doesn't bother me. If you're looking at it at face value, it should bother you because you don't have a passing touchdown against Eastern Illinois. But there were a couple times this game, I could think of 2, where he got the ball down to the 1-yard line and they ran it in on the next play. But a 20-plus yard pass got them down to the 1-yard line. It was just that someone else finished off the drive, so he didn't get credit for the touchdowns. But the interceptions, first one, I don't think he saw the defender. I don't think he saw him at all. The running back and another defender were in coverage blocking his sight line. He tried to hit, I believe it was Jeremy Bernard, across the middle of the field, threw it right to the defender. Defender made a great leaping catch to go bring it in, but I don't think he saw him at all. The second one was a heave towards the end zone at halftime. So I don't really care about that one. But 2 interceptions at face value is not good. Second one, I don't really care about as much because that's just a heave towards the end zone. That was it again. It was triple coverage. You just got to get towards the end zone. Remember we talked about Lenore Sellers last week against Texas A&M? It don't really matter if it gets picked. Just throw it down the field. You have a better chance of anything positive happening throwing it down the field rather than just trying to pick it up with your legs. And yes, you got intercepted. That's a chance that could happen, but at least you gave it an effort to throw it down the field to try and get something going there. You had a 23-yard pass to Riley in there. You could look at a 26-yard pass to Mbakwe, who, again, gets him down to the 1-yard line. The 27-yard line, gets it down to the 1. And gets a 25-yard pass to Williams. Does a nice job maneuvering the pocket. Gets the Williams down the near side, or down the far sideline, for a 25-yard gain. And Simpson, again, it's one of those things where I think that the numbers aren't going to be nice to him in this game. I mean, 11-16, 147, no touchdowns and 2 picks against Eastern Illinois looks bad. But I don't think he was that bad throughout the course of the game, if that makes sense. Maybe I'm pandering too much here. Maybe I'm being a little too nice. But again, the interception, I think the first one he didn't see him. The second time, it was just a heave towards the end zone. So I can give and take those, especially with how good Alabama's defense was playing at that point in the game. Like, it didn't end up hurting them. And yeah, here's the thing as well. So you know how earlier we had Trinidad Chambliss dropping down 2 spots because he didn't play, and Simpson staying here at 1 even though he threw 2 picks against Eastern Illinois? The problem is with that is that I don't think anybody directly behind Simpson did enough to warrant going up to the top spot. Mendoza didn't play, and I don't think Moore, though he played good against USC, I don't think did enough against USC to go like, oh yeah, that's the new top guy in here. Because I can move Simpson down, but there has to be someone taking his spot. Like, I didn't just move Chambliss down for the sake of moving him down. I think Beck, with his 4 touchdowns against Virginia Tech, warranted moving up 3 spots. And Sorsby, with some of the plays that he made, despite taking some big shots against BYU, 11th ranked BYU, I think warranted him a spot to keep his spot at 8 for at least this week. So it's nothing about like, oh, these guys, like, I need someone else to take that spot. Ty Simpson, for me, has been number 1 in these rankings since week 7. We are entering week 14. I need someone to take that spot away from him rather than him losing it. And this week, they play Auburn, at Auburn. And Auburn, at this point, if I'm not mistaken, is battling for bowl eligibility. So if he struggles this week, and Mendoza, who is going to light up Purdue this coming week, I know it's at Purdue, but he is going to light them up. He might have 37 touchdowns by the time this game week's over. And he could realistically be number 1 after that, but I need him to take it from him. This is different than battling for spots 7, 8, 9, 10. This is the number 1 spot. Is that you got to battle a little bit harder here. So I have Simpson at 1. And if Mendoza played this week, there was a very good chance that he probably would have taken the top spot from him. But since he didn't, and Moore, I don't think did enough to take number 1 from him, I have Simpson staying at number 1. That might upset some people, but that's where we have it right now. But just a recap here, honorable mention section: Jaden Craig from Harvard. Sorry, I almost said Auburn. Josh Hoover from TCU. Diego Pavia from Vanderbilt. Sawyer Robertson from Baylor. And Lenore Sellers from South Carolina. Number 10, we have Cade Klubnik dropping down 1 spot. Him and the Tigers take on South Carolina on the road. That'll be a very tough game for them. Number 9, Trinidad Chambliss. Him and the Mississippi Rebels take on Mississippi State on the road in the Egg Bowl. Number 8, Brendan Sorsby. Him and the Bearcats will be taking on TCU on the road this weekend. That's a very level matchup right there. Number 7, Carson Beck. Him and the Miami Hurricanes take on Pitt this weekend. That is a scary game for Miami. That's a very scary game for Miami, especially with Pitt coming off a nice little win against Georgia Tech this past weekend. On the road as well. Number 6, John Mateer. Him and the Sooners take on LSU. That should be a win from Oklahoma, but we'll have to see, especially with it being at home. Number 5, I have Darian Mensah. Him and Duke take on Wake Forest, another North Carolina team, this coming weekend. Number 4, Jay Maava. Him and the Trojans will take on UCLA this coming weekend. And then we got number 3, Dante Moore. Him and the Ducks will take on Washington. Going to Seattle, take on the Washington Huskies. Number 2 is Fernando Mendoza. Him and Indiana will be taking on Purdue on Friday night. And number 1 is Ty Simpson, with him and the Crimson Tide traveling to Auburn to take on the Tigers. Fun weekend of football coming up. It sucks that it's the last week of the regular season, but hey, we still got Army-Navy game coming up, so that's always fun. But yeah, we shouldn't frown because it's over. We should smile because it happened. And yeah, I love college football. We all love college football. And I hope you enjoyed this episode, I guess video, whatever you want to call it, of our Week 13 quarterback prospect rankings. Again, let me know down below what you think about the rankings. Check out the blog post on the LoganBlackmanShow.com. Make sure to check out all the links down in the description below, social media accounts, podcasts, all that great stuff. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and like the video if you enjoyed it. If you did not, I sincerely apologize. I will try to be better next time. We will have our Week 14 rankings coming out for you next week. And we'll try to figure out what we're going to do for conference championship stuff and stuff like that. There'll be more United States stuff coming out in the future as well. It's been hard to get that stuff in because I've been writing the blog post and making these videos at the same time while also trying to record my own podcast, which has been very hit and miss. And with this week being Thanksgiving and all that, it's been hard to find times to do all that. But we got it done. Maybe not the podcast, but all the other stuff's done. So credit to me for that. I'll give myself a pat on the back for that one. But again, Make sure to subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys later. Peace.